Hello and welcome to our third week in Aramaic. We are in Daniel chapter 2, verse 7 today. It's a fairly short verse, thankfully. But we are in the middle of a section where the king has had a dream and he brings his wise guys in and he basically says, if you can't tell me the interpretation of this dream, it's the end of you. And they say, well, sure, we can tell you the dream. And so we begin in verse 7, where the king has said, give me the interpretation or else. And they say, ano tin yanut the amrin. Okay, so there's the setup there. They answered a second time, and they said, okay, they answered again a second time and said, Malka Helma Yemar. Okay, let the king say the dream. All right, well, let's look at the grammar here. So this here, ano, if you know Hebrew, this is the verb ana, which means to answer. It's called a weak verb in both Hebrew and Aramaic because the third consonant, a hey, ana, that third hey is a weak consonant. And what that means is it tends to go away. It's a scaredy cat. It goes, bye, I'm out of here. Third hey, what the hey? It's gone. And so the hey, there's no hey here. Where's the hey? It's a weak verb. It run away. So this is a weak verb. The hey is gone. And this is a G or pa'al. We call it we call it the call stem in Hebrew, or if you say G, you can go across several Semitic languages and still call it the G stem or the Grundstamm. In Aramaic, we call this stem the pa'al stem, but this is a G perfect. Perfect adds stuff on the front usually, but not in the third person as much. But the holam vav here at the end is weird. It's not normal, not even for Aramaic, but it's what third hey verbs do. So they is what third masculine plural is. So the holam vav there is a irregularity of the third masculine plural of third hey verbs. I don't know if that's worth memorizing or not. Anyway, it explains why it's weird. They answered, okay, tin yanut. They answered a second time. Come back, go away or I will taunt you a second time. This is a second time. Now, what's interesting is this, remember last week we talked about shibboleth and thibboleth? This week we have another example of where in Hebrew, shanayim is the word for two, but here it's thinayim, thinayin. So the tav in Aramaic replaces the sheen in Hebrew. Okay. So they answered a second time and they said, so Hirik Yod Nun is the Aramaic version of what is in Hebrew, Hirik Yod Mem. So you say nun, you say n, I say mm. So Hebrew goes but Aramaic goes n. So let's call the whole thing off. So in is a masculine plural because they, referring to they, the Chaldean wise guys. So they answered a second time, and they said, and now there should be quotes here, except Aramaic and Hebrew don't do quotes. So we have to infer it. The king. So Melech in both Hebrew and Aramaic is king, although it's not Melech. Yeah, it is Melech in Aramaic too, I think. But the Kamatz Aleph is the word for the. Same here, the dream. Chelma. It's a chait. I think I pronounced it like a hey before. It's a chelma, the dream. So the Kamatz Aleph is the. So the king, the dream, Yemar. Let the king tell the dream. So Malka is the subject. And then Yemar is the verb. Tell the king the dream. Notice they don't say, the king commanded, tell me. But this is a little bit more polite because we're talking to the king, right? Pray tell the king, tell us, pray the king tell us the dream. You know, it's much more polite. This form here is called a jussive. I already mentioned that this is a third hey form. And then this is a jussive. A jussive is a third person command. Let the king tell. It's polite, it's indirect. And the vowels, the jussive in both Hebrew and Aramaic looks a lot like the imperfect tense, you know, like the yod on the front is a third masculine singular, just like in Hebrew. The vowels are different from what we would expect in the Aramaic perfect. Okay, so they answered again and said, let the king tell the dream. La'avdohi, to his servants. U pishra, and its interpretation, naha kave, we will declare. Okay, let the king tell the dream to his servants, and its interpretation we will declare. So the lamed is two. Avad in both Hebrew and Aramaic is servant. This holem here is the indication that it's plural. And then he is where the his comes from, to his servants. And its interpretation, I'm a little upset that there's not a mapik here like there was before, because that would have been a sure telltale sign that it was a its, but it is. Pesher, again, interpretation. Its interpretation, we will declare. The nun is a, so this is he is a third masculine singular pronominal suffix, his. Nun is a sign of, is where the we comes from. This is a perfect tense. I think I have the parsing down here. No, it's not perfect. I'm sorry. It's the H or causative stem, the hafel in Aramaic. We call it hifil in biblical Hebrew. It's hafel in Aramaic. So the sign of the H stem in either language is this hey that's been added. So it is hey imperfect. The nun is the we. Sorry, the nun is the we of the imperfect tense. The hey is the hafel. So this is the causative. This is the we. We will cause to be known its interpretation. You'll notice that this is a third aleph verb in Aramaic, and in Aramaic, alephs and heys kind of, I guess, blur into each other. And so for whatever reason, the aleph has gone away and it's a hey. Again, we say, what the hey? So I mucked up my parsing to begin with, but let's do it one last time. The nun is first common plural of the imperfect tense. Imperfect adds stuff to the front. The hey is the hafel or causative stem, to cause to tell, to cause to be known, that sort of thing. And then hava is the word. All right, well, this has been Daniel 2:7, our third verse in Aramaic. See you next week, Lord willing.